Hey everyone, it's Jessica with another layout for Spiegel Mom Scraps. As usual, you can use my code Jessica15 in the shop to save 15%. I'm going to do some mixed media on this one. So I'm starting off by prepping a thicker sheet of cardstock. I think it's like 115 pound paper if I remember right. I get it from Joann's. It's Park Lane brand, and I'm using some clear gesso today. And I spread it on with my spatula there and wasn't too particular about getting all the edges because I know my mixed media is just going to go in the middle portion anyhow. So I've got 3 photos of my little guys here riding their tractors around through some mud last spring at our farm. And I think it was spring anyways. I can't remember what date. I think it was an April date. So yeah, spring. Anyway, so I've matted them with some smooth white cardstock, and then I'm tucking some tissue paper in behind them, and I am going to use just a couple scraps that I have laying here. This is my favorite paper by 49 and Market, but I had some scraps of it laying on my desk beside me, so I just grabbed them, and I'm going to use them on this one. And my gesso is about dry already. This one dries really fast. So I'm going to go ahead and pull out some Shimmerz paints and some water and start prepping my little shimmer pots. I like to add some water to mine. I don't know if you're supposed to add it to the Shimmerz ones or not. I know the Inklingz need to have it added so that it activates them, but I add them... my baby girl's here and she's excited. I add them to my Shimmerz pots as well because they're really super pigmented, and I just feel like there's not much in them whenever you get them, so adding water to them kind of helps with the coloring, and it fills them up a little bit more. So I'm just like splotching them on here. I'm adding water both before and after I add them, and then I am just going to blend all these colors together by just picking up my paper and letting them kind of just move around. And what really helps this move around and blend together is that gesso that I prepped the paper with. So if I did not have the gesso on there, it wouldn't move around like this, and it would just kind of soak right into the paper because your paper is porous. So it would just kind of soak it right up if I didn't have the gesso on there. So that's why I use the gesso. And also it preps your paper so that it helps it not warp so bad whenever you apply all these wet mediums to it. So I'm just swishing this around. The colors are kind of all blended together at this point, but as they kind of dry, they do separate back out a little bit, and you can see kind of the color variation, and it's just really pretty. I'm kind of just swirling it around using my heat tool here as I go, and just kind of drying it up and just still continuing to kind of smush and swirl the paper around a little bit as I'm drying. So I'm just going to continue drying that a little bit, and I'm just going to dab up the little pools because some of them are pretty thick and there's a lot of product sitting there on them. So I'm just going to dab some of that up with paper towel. And as you can see, I was kind of smushing a little bit around there with my finger just to get it into that spot a little bit more because it was just... it didn't have enough color for my liking, so I just kind of smushed a little bit more over there. Here I am just dabbing my paintbrush down into the pots, and I am adding some additional splatters. This really helps break up those colors and kind of separate them back out. It gives them some dimension, and it just adds some more sparkle. It's just so pretty and just really helps to break that up so it doesn't look like one giant blob. So the colors that I use today are the Shimmerz in Evergreen and Green Olive, and an Inklingz in Emerald City. Those are for the green colors. And then I'm actually going to pull out Golden Wheat Shimmerz as well and add some gold to this. So right now I'm just pulling out some white gesso. I'm using that to, again, break this up and kind of create a marbled effect. I love putting white splatters on top of colored backgrounds and colored mixed media and things like that. It just really adds to the layout, and just it's so pretty. And it helps break that up, give dimension, and when you apply it to wet mixed media, it just creates a beautiful marbled effect. When you add it to drier mixed media, like you can see the bottom section of this is pretty dry at this point, it just creates dry splatters. So if you want it to kind of marble and do a really cool effect to your mixed media, you want to apply that when it's still wet. So I've got that all pretty much done and how I want it to look. I'm going to move on to my cut files. So I'm going to actually use a cut file by Pear Tree Cut Files today. It says Get Outside, and the O is a geotag. I'm just basically taping this off with some pixie tape by Thermoweb because I just want to do some ink blending on that get word and make it black instead of white. I could have cut another cut file in black and just kind of trimmed that out around my letters and where I wanted that to go, but I didn't feel like it. So I just did this because this was just easy for me to do. I didn't have to mess with it, didn't have to cut another layer out, didn't have to get another Cricut mat out or anything like that, or peel this off and reuse the one I had or anything like that, because at this point some of the letters are still on my cut file. So all the negatives are still on there, so I didn't want to reuse that or anything. And oh my gosh, I love these glass mats. Like, seriously, these are the best inventions ever because everything just wipes right off of them. I love them. And I did clean mine the other day. It's cleaner than it normally is. It does have a couple splotches on it already, and I think I've only done like 2 layouts on this, and it's already getting gunked up again. So usually I let it get pretty grimy before I clean it really, really good, but it requires me using a magic eraser on it to actually clean my glass mat because they just get so grimy with splatters and paint and gesso and adhesives and you name it. But yeah, I do wipe them off every time, but they just get all that stuff stuck on there. So I use a magic eraser on it. So that's my little tip for today. Also, another tip, if you're doing this, use an X-Acto knife to cut out those middles because it's just a lot easier. So I use a cutting mat and my X-Acto knife to cut out the middles of that. I should have did the middle of my D, but I forgot right now. I'll do that later. I've also cut little clear acetate sheets to make my shaker pocket with. So I cut that off camera because apparently I didn't turn my camera on for that part. But I have 2 sheets of acetate in the same shape as this geotag. One is already on there. It's clear, so you can't really see it. And then I'm using some shaker strips by Gina K to put in between these layers because I'm going to add my sequins in here from Spiegel Mom and make a shaker pocket out of my little geotag. And as soon as I saw that cut file in my stash, I immediately wanted to make a shaker out of it. So and that's where that sprouted from. So my shaker strips are a little tiny bit bigger than the outline of the cut file. I don't care. You're going to see it a little tiny bit. Who cares? It doesn't matter. So I'm just adding my sequins in here. You can see what this mix is called on the screen there. It is called Dink, which is from, don't get any ideas, it's from Pickleball collection. So if you play pickleball, I'm sure that you know what that means. But that's what that's from. And it was all sorts of greens and a really pretty blue color. So I thought it would just be perfect for this green layout that I'm doing today. And my boys' tractors are green as in John Deere. So it just matches perfectly. And I am now cutting out the middle of my D that I forgot earlier. I like to lay the negative piece of my D in there, cut it out, and then place the actual cut file piece back on there and glue it down. So it's just easier for me to do it that way. I've got the circular element, like a viewfinder that was in this 49 and Market stash that I have. So I'm going to tuck that in. I'm just grabbing a whole bunch of 49 and Market things today. The cow print paper from my cut file there that I backed it with is from a Simple Stories collection. I think it's called Homegrown, if I remember right. And I grabbed that from that collection and then just grabbed a bunch of random 49 and Market embellishments. So I'm sticking with mainly green, a little bit of blue thrown in there because there's a little bit of blue in that sequin mix, but mainly I'm sticking to kind of a monochrome layout today. So I'm just tucking a bunch of things up here in the top, some little tickets and tags, little embellishments. I really like this little circle. I think it says "so silly" or something like that, silly moments. So I wanted to use that on this layout somewhere. I ended up moving it in the end. It doesn't stay there, but I'm going to add my date stamp here with my Paige Evans roller date stamp and some black soot distress oxide. And I am just tucking all the things in here, just creating a whole bunch of layers and little elements kind of peeking out here and there. I've got my little date stamp one here, fussing around with that other little label, tucking the rest of that ticket in there. As you see, sometimes I rip my embellishments in half so I can use them more than once, because when you tuck them down in behind something, you don't see the whole thing. So why not make more use out of your items, right? So I am a little bit sick. I sound kind of like nasally today. Sorry about that. And I feel like I've been sick for, well, I've been sick all winter, it feels like, but I've been sick this time for like going on a month, I swear. It's ridiculous. Things just keep cycling through our house, but for some reason it just settles with me and doesn't go away. So I'm using Nuva glue and my ATG gun to tape down all of these various embellishments and layers, and I really, really love the way that this is looking. I'm going to grab some like ribbon type of lace twine that I have in my stash. I think it's actually by 49 Market as well. And I'm going to grab some regular twine to put on this top tag that's peeking out right here. And then I'm just going to rough up the edges on these little tags. I like to give them a little bit more dimension so everything's not so flat. Like this one, I'm actually going to pop up with some 3D foam squares by Gina K. And I'm going to stick that right at the top of my photos. And then those tickets and things, I'm just going to ruffle up the edges using my fingernail to just rough them up. So here, I might as well just go ahead and stick my photos down since I didn't do that yet. And it's like the main part of the layout, right? But I just was too busy tucking things in and getting that where it needed to be. So I'm going to go ahead and stick the photos down, and I'm going to get some of my tape roll here, the 3D foam tape roll from Thermoweb, and place on the back of my cut file to pop the rest of it up. Since that shaker is kind of thick and popped up, I wanted the rest to match that dimension. So I went ahead and put some 3D foam tape on the back of that. And then I'm just adhering these strips down here. I like these little wordy bits in the bottom. And I love this on the go from 49 Market. I thought that was super appropriate for this layout, and I love it. So I wanted to tuck it in there on the side. And there's my circle. It came back. Then I got my little arrow here too, but I ended up putting a foam square on the back of that to pop it up too. I just love dimensional layouts, and I love the mixed media on this one. I love how it turned out. I'm like a little bit sad that only a little bit of it peeks out around my photos and things, but it does still look pretty, and I like it. But you guys saw the whole thing before I covered it up, so you know what it looks like under there. I've got a little photo corner that I'm going to add. I didn't want to add any more. I figured it would take away from it too much. And then I decided I wanted to add a few more sparkles on here. So I'm just going to go through and add some around the layouts, kind of the top, bottom, and in a few places here. I'll speed this up. So there, I've got all those sequins attached now. Here's my ribbon coming in, and then that's pretty much going to finish this one up. If you guys want to grab any of the sequin mixes from the shop, feel free to use my code. It's Jessica15. You'll save 15% with it. I don't get anything back from that. That's just for you, so just keep that in mind. It's a nice code to use, and you can save a little bit of money and build your stash up. And I'll link it below for you, the website. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else I need to tell you, because things are crazy around here and a lot's going to happen for April. I've got a lot of things planned and a lot of videos coming up. I've got a crop that I'm going to like the second weekend in April that I'm super excited about. I haven't been to an in-person crop since my firstborn child, and I actually took him with me when he was like 9 months old, I think. So it'll be fun. I got a lot of things planned. Here's the finished layout. I hope you guys enjoyed this process and just chatting with me today. And I thank you so much for being here. I appreciate each and every one of you and all your sweet comments. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I hope you guys have a great day. Bye-bye.